all of which was all captured on both of the officers' body cam. They asked me what happened. I told them exactly what happened. I was out. She texted me to come home as if somebody was coming to take my furniture. Immediately when I come in, she immediately was attacking me. They could see where my shirt was stretched out. They could see my shirt was soaking wet from her continuing to throw the water on me every 2 minutes and continuing to smack me, which I had scars on my neck, top of my head, because I'm bald, and on both of my arms, which I took photos and the police officers took photos of.
Okay. Had he ever shown up to anywhere else unannounced or when you asked him not to?
My job, my house, several times.
Okay. And did you ever confront him during those incidences?
On the occasion of him showing up to my house one Monday, it was about 7 o'clock in the morning. I asked him not to do that. And then again, at Children's Church, I asked him not to make contact with me or my children.
And what was his response when you asked him not to do that?
He was going to continue and that he didn't mind going to jail.
Okay. And what are these pictures?
These are pictures of the shots that my husband fired in the home.
Okay. There's exhibit 2A, B, C, and D.
Any objections?
I do object to the circumstances. Should I wait till my turn to ask questions regarding that?
I don't think I understand. You object.
That had nothing to do with family violence. I brought the firearm over to Miss Chelsea's house.
Hearing.
All right. Well, Ms. Dixon, I always like to see you litigate, so let's do it. All right, Mr. Moore. And Ms. Moore. Mr. Browning, once you put your email in the chat, you can leave. All right, Mr. Moore, Ms. Moore, if y'all can both raise your right hand. All right, y'all swear affirmative testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. Mr. Moore?
I do.
All right, Ms. Moore? Yeah, take yourself off mute.
Yes.
All right, you just want to go straight into testimony, Ms. Dixon?
I'll do a brief opening, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
Your Honor, the petitioner received ex parte relief under OCGA 1913-3 due to the acts of violence that have been committed against her by the respondent, her estranged husband, and previous acts of violence that were also committed against her before. You'll find based on my client's testimony today that she is a victim of family violence, and the relief we are requesting today, Your Honor, should be granted.
All right.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Okay. Please state your name and age for the court.
Chelsea Moore, 34 years old.
What's your education level?
High school.
Okay. Are you currently employed, Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Moore is your husband, correct?
Yes.
Are you two currently living together?
No.
Okay. And where are you currently living?
Before yesterday, I was living with family and friends.
Okay. And what happened yesterday?
The Fulton County Sheriff displaced him from the home.
Okay.
And rights to the home.
Okay. And have you filed a divorce action as well in this county?
Yes.
Okay. And was a temporary order entered in that case, removing him from the home?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Who's currently living in the residence with you?
Me and my children.
Okay. How many children do you have?
I have 2 children,
What are their ages?
14 and 15.
Okay. Girls or boys?
Two daughters.
Okay. Are these children you share with Mr. Moore?
No.
Okay. All right. Ms. Moore, you filed an ex parte TPO on August 31st, 2022. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you describe what motivated you to file for that TPO?
My husband was violent with me.
Okay. And in what ways was he violent with you?
I was punched in the face. An ashtray was thrown at me and dragged by my hair.
Okay. And do we have pictures to present before the court of some of the bruises that you sustained from that incident?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, if I may share my screen.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Moore, can you see the screen?
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Moore, I'm showing you, excuse me, what's been marked for identification purposes as Petitioner's Exhibit 1A. Do you recognize this picture?
Yeah,
Okay, have you made any changes to it?
no,
Okay. Your Honor, if I may tender into evidence Petitioner's Exhibit 1A.
Any objections?
Yes, Your Honor. I was not the source of that bruise.
Okay, I'll hear from you later on where you believe the source came from. But as to the bruise itself,
I can see the bruise. I acknowledge it. Yes.
all right, no objections. It's admitted. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. All right, Ms. Moore, this is a picture of your arm, correct? How did you get this bruise?
when I was being attacked by my husband.
Okay, what exactly did he do to you to give you this bruise?
Right there is him grabbing at my arms from above my head.
Okay. And let's go to 1B. This is another bruise, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and how did you get this bruise and where is this at on your person?
That's on my right buttocks. That's from being drugged
Drug where?
by my hair throughout the apartment.
Okay. All right, and let's go to go to 1C. This is another bruise, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and can you describe where the bruise is and how you got it?
That's on my left leg above my knee from falling to the floor.
Okay, and what caused you to fall to the floor?
The second punch.
Okay, so let's move on to 1D. Can you describe this bruise as well and how you received it?
Yes, that's from hitting my foot on the door when he was dragging me by my hair on the floor.
Okay. All right, and I believe this is the last one of the bruises. Can you describe this picture for me and how you received this bruise?
Yes, the same one, my right leg from falling to the ground and raising up against the molding in the doorway.
Okay. Ms. Moore, have you made any changes to the exhibits 1B through 1D? Well,
No, ma'am.
okay. Your Honor, if there's no objection, I'd like to tender into evidence exhibits 1B through 1, I think we're at E.
Any objections, sir?
No.
All right, so they're admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, so Ms. Moore, earlier I heard you say from the second punch. I need you to describe for the court exactly what happened during that incident, from the beginning of the incident to the end.
I confronted my husband about cheating and financial issues, and he became upset and aggressive and punched me, which landed on the right of my face. The second time he punched me, I fell to the floor. And that's when he dragged me by my hair throughout the apartment, and my 15-year-old daughter witnessed it and called the police.
Okay. All right, and Ms. Moore, what happened when the police arrived?
I was very adamant that I didn't want my husband to get in any trouble. And they decided that we would just separate for the night. And me and my daughter went to a hotel that evening.
Okay. All right. And Ms. Moore, is this the first time that your husband has shown any aggression towards you or been violent with you?
No.
Okay. Has he ever been violent with you in the past? In what ways?
In October 2020, he shot my house up and put 8 bullet holes in our house.
Okay. And do we have pictures of the damage and the bullet holes in your home to present before the court today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, if I may share my screen.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Moore, I am showing you what's been marked for identification purposes as Petitioner's Exhibit 2A, B, C, and D. Have you made any changes to these documents?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And what are these pictures?
These are pictures of the shots that my husband fired in the home.
Okay. Your Honor, if there's no objection, I'd like to tender into evidence petitioners Exhibit 2A, B, C, and D.
Any objections?
I do object to the circumstances. Should I wait till my turn to ask questions regarding that?
I don't think I understand. You
Well,
object.
That had nothing to do with family violence. I brought the firearm over to Miss Chelsea's house because at that we were separated, and she stays on the bottom level, and she said that it would be individuals walking past her door, and a couple times people knocked on her door, and she became scared. I lived in Peachtree Corners. She lived in downtown Atlanta. I told her I would bring her my firearm to keep at her house to protect her and her children. Me and her end up going out having drinks that night, a lot of drinks. When we got back to her house, I was showing her how to use the gun, and the gun went off a couple times, twice to be accurate.
Whoa, Mr. Moore. Stand by. Whoa. All right. I love it when somebody says the gun goes off. Now,
Yes, ma'am.
15 years of law enforcement, military, a whole bunch of other stuff. The nomenclature of a gun goes off when a finger's in the trigger and it gets pulled. So
Correct.
we just have to go off. So
No,
somebody pulled the trigger. Now, one, shooting a gun off in a house is loud. So if you do it once, you sure as heck aren't going to do it twice. So the gun went off because somebody pulled the trigger. Who pulled the trigger, Mr. Moore?
It was the I completely.
Boom. All right. I think you need to stop. I think you really need to stop talking. Go ahead. Overruled your objection. Go ahead, Ms. Dixon.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, Ms. Moore, briefly, because the evidence speaks for itself. These are pictures of the gunshots in this bathroom. Whose bathroom is this?
My children.
Okay, how many gunshots is there? Do you see?
4.
Okay, and here's another picture. There's also 4 shots here. It looks like one went through that looks like 5.
5.
4. Oh, 5. Yeah, one went through the TV as well. Okay, let's go to this one. There are also additional shots in the shower. Is this also in your daughter's bathroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this is just another angle of the bathroom. Okay. Ms. Moore, did you call the police after this incident?
No.
Okay, can you describe for the court why you did not call?
Out of fear, if that can happen to me while I'm in the house or to my belongings, it can happen to me.
Okay. All right, Ms. Moore. Let's talk about the August incident once more. After the August incident, your husband was not arrested, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did anyone get arrested during that incident?
I did.
Okay, let's talk about that and how that happened. How did you end up getting arrested?
The following day after they separated us, they told me to come back to the residence and ask them for an escort because he had changed the locks that night. I did as such, waited for the police to come. On initial contact, they asked me what happened to my face. I told them that my husband had been violent with me. They asked me why he didn't go to jail. I told them that I was very adamant about him not getting in any trouble. And they asked me again in front of him, once we made contact with him, what happened to my face, and I refused to answer.
Okay, and did your husband give a narrative about what happened that day?
Yes, my understanding is that he said that I attacked him.
Okay.
And he did nothing
To you?
to me.
Okay, and was your refusal to, I guess, speak in front of him, do you believe that that's the reason you went to jail?
Yes, they considered it me changing my story since I didn't repeat what happened to me or didn't say what happened to me in front of my husband.
Okay, and what was your reason for not repeating out loud what happened in front of your husband at that time?
Because of the prior incidents.
What about the prior incidences? Do you have a fear of something?
I had a fear of just what could happen, seeing as he shot up my house before and shown aggression on higher levels before.
Okay. And very briefly, Ms. Moore, has your husband ever made contact with you before and you've asked him to stop?
Yes, several times. I actually filed the TPO in April.
Okay. Why did you file that TPO?
And I asked him several times to not make contact with me or my children. One Sunday, we as in my children and I went to church. I parked and looked across the street to make sure they had made it in safely. And Mr. Moore was standing outside of the children's church, handing my children money and engaging in conversation with them after I asked him not to repeatedly.
Okay. Had he ever shown up to anywhere else unannounced or when you asked him not to?
My job, my house, several times.
Okay. And did you ever confront him during those incidences?
On the occasion of him showing up to my house one Monday, it was about 7 o'clock in the morning. I asked him not to do that. And then again, at children's church, I asked him not to make contact with me or my children.
And what was his response when you asked him not to do that?
He was going to continue and that he didn't mind going to jail.
Okay. And how did he communicate this to you? Well, did you have a text message? Was it via phone call?
Verbal and text message.
Okay. Do we have a copy of that text message to present before the court today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Your Honor, if I may.
Sure.
Ms. Moore, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification purposes as petitioner's exhibit number 3. We need to change that. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Okay, what is it?
A text message from my husband.
Okay, have you made any changes to it?
No, ma'am.
Your Honor, if there's no objection, I'd like to tender into evidence petitioner's exhibit 3.
Any objections?
No.
All right, submitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, Ms. Moore, in April of this year, I'm assuming is when this exchange occurred?
Yes.
Okay, and this is a message where you're asking your husband to leave you alone and he's saying he'll go to jail, I'm assuming?
Right, correct.
Okay, and his behavior continued even after these text messages, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, Ms. Moore. Are you asking, excuse me, based on the respondent's conduct, Ms. Moore, are you in fear of your safety?
Yes.
Okay. In addition to filing this TPO, what other steps have you taken to try and protect yourself?
Just keeping in constant contact with friends and family, letting them know where I go if anyone is not available to go with me.
Okay. Are you asking that the court extend the protective order for 12 months?
Yes.
Okay. Are you asking that I know you were awarded the marital home in your divorce case. Are you asking that the court enforce him to turn over the mailbox keys today as well?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other property that you need from Mr. Moore?
There were a couple of things taken from the home once I was there last night. Just entertainment stuff for my children.
Are you asking that those items be returned to you as well?
Yes.
Okay. Are you asking that Mr. Moore be ordered to enroll in the Family Violence Intervention Program?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Moore?
Yes, ma'am. On the date in question, August 27th, woke up 7 o'clock in the morning like I do every day. Chelsea was extremely upset. She blamed me. Well, she accused me of changing the password on her phone. So she hit my computer and immediately starts putting her hands on me. 8 o'clock that morning, I called the police immediately when she starts hitting me. Officer comes to the scene. He talks to us both. He says, I can't do anything. He said, my suggestion to you, Mr. Moore, is you guys just stay in separate rooms and avoid each other, which I did. I work from home. So I stayed in my room on that day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., just possibly going to the kitchen 1 or 2 times to get something to eat. When I got off at work at 5 o'clock on that date, I immediately got my car and left the house. I went out shopping, hung out, just passing time to avoid her at all costs. Because at this point, her anger has escalated every day. And my apartment complex had now put me on notice that my neighbors had filed complaints, 4 in total. So I'm still out. 8 o'clock, I get a random text from Chelsea that says, you need to come home. Bianca's coming to take her furniture. Bianca's a girl I dated from, I want to say February to about, May sometime. At this point, me and Chelsea had no involvement, rarely any contact. We weren't dealing with each other in any way. So she texts me that, telling me to come home. I walk in the house. Immediately, she starts hitting me. She's claiming that I've been in contact with this girl. I'm cheating on her. And I mean, it continues probably 15, 20 minutes. She repeatedly goes, grabs a cup, fills it up with water, throws it on me. She did that a total of 7 times, on top of punching me, smacking me, hitting me. I fill up a cup of water to drink. She smacks the cup out of my hand, and she shatters another glass in the kitchen. The glass bounces off the counter and cuts my arm. My arm starts to bleed. I got in the house around 8:30. I called the police the first time at 8:46. I told them she's being extremely aggressive. She's putting her hands on me. I need somebody to come out there now. Never once did I hit her. Never once did I retaliate. And her daughter, her 15-year-old daughter, was not home. Her 15-year-old daughter came home at about 9:30 from hanging out with her friends. And I do want to correct, her daughter never once called the police. Between 8:46 and 11:15, I called the police 6 times. I went into my room by myself, watched TV. Chelsea was out in the living room. She's still just yelling, cussing. She comes in the room I'm in now, again starts hitting me. Repeatedly. And again, I have not touched her. I get up to walk out the room. She's walking behind me. I walk out of my bedroom. She walks out of the bedroom behind me. I go back in my bedroom. I slam the door and I lock it. I go out on my balcony. I call the police again. I say, she's continuing to hit me. She's continuing to attack me. I need an officer out here immediately. I'm on my balcony. She's in the other room. While she's in the other room, she gets a knife. She cuts all of the artwork in my apartment. She breaks several of the dishes and whatnot in the kitchen, all of which I showed to the police when they got there. The police, it took them about an hour and a half to come to the residence. They come in, they immediately see the scars all over me. It was clear as day. They're on my neck, they're on my arms. The police documented them all. I gave them pictures. They completely evaluated what I looked like. They completely evaluated what she looked like. All of which was all captured on both of the officers' body cam. They asked me what happened. I told them exactly what happened. I was out. She texted me to come home as if somebody was coming to take my furniture. Immediately when I come in, she immediately was attacking me. They could see where my shirt was stretched out. They could see my shirt was soaking wet from her continuing to throw the water on me every 2 minutes and continuing to smack me, which I had scars on my neck, top of my head, because I'm bald, and on both of my arms, which I took photos and the police officers took photos of it. I provided it to them. They said we should take her to jail. They asked me, is her daughter my daughter? I said no, but I'm very familiar with her daughter. They said it doesn't matter. If you're not her daughter's biological father, they have to take her and put her in defects. I also mentioned, I said, Chelsea Moore, 3 years ago, was arrested for doing the exact same thing. She attacked her prior husband in a doctor's office and was charged with assault and battery. I didn't want to get her in trouble whatsoever. I asked the officers, her mother and her family live in Georgia. I'm here by myself. I'm originally from Philadelphia. I said, I just want her away from me. She refused to leave. The officers at that point explained to her, while taking out their handcuffs, that Ms. Moore, you can either leave or you can go to jail, and we're going to take your daughter downtown to defects. She eventually grabbed some of her belongings, left the residence, okay? I go out of my balcony, I can see the police officers down there, and I see her pull out of my apartment complex. The officers leave probably about 5-10 minutes after that. As soon as they leave, she comes back in. She immediately comes back upstairs and tries to enter the residence after the officers walked her out and told her she has to leave the apartment complex. She tries to get back in the apartment. I literally am near the door and I stop and push the door so she can't get back in. I'm looking at my people. Her daughter's crying, screaming, "Mom, let's go. Why are you coming back here? Mom, let's go. Why are you coming back here?" I tell her to leave. She refuses to leave. She's still trying to get back into the apartment. I call the cops again. So this is, I believe, time number 5 or 6. I call the cops again. The cops come back out there. They should have arrested her, but her daughter was there, so they didn't. But they said, "Ma'am, you cannot come back here. You have to leave." At which time she left again and tried to come back again. At which time I called the police again. She immediately left that time. The officer came. I talked to him. I said, "Look, she tried to come back in this apartment twice after the initial officers were here. 2 times. The officer at that point suggested, like, I don't know if you want to stay here, do something. Because obviously she keeps coming back. She comes back again, call us again. We're going to put her in jail." I called the leasing office. I told them what was going on because the cops had been in my apartment that day 6 times. So I told them what's going on. They suggested I change the lock along with the officer, which I did. And I got multiple keys. Okay. I go to sleep that night. The next morning, I get a knock on my door around 9 a.m. It's 2 officers and it's Chelsea. Okay.
Hold on, Mr. Moore. Let me interrupt you. Where's your copies of your police reports, your copies of the body cams, all this stuff as far as evidence?
Again, I'm actually downtown at the courthouse. We have a court hearing coming up where she's currently charged in Fulton County with assault and battery. I have, due to my prior job, I've been traveling nonstop. I've been having to be a witness because state of Texas, state of Portland, state of California, they are all suing my company. So I've just been out of town. And
so you don't have any of this?
I don't have the police report. All I have is the booking information for her and the battery charges. That day, the sergeant, I requested a sergeant come to the residence. He looked at the body cam footage along with his supervisor. They confirmed she had no.
All right, Mr. Moore, I've kind of let you go on and on about what these cops said. They're not here. So every time you say the cop said something, I pretty much tune you out because I can't even consider that. So do you have a police report? Do you have where you've got the body cam, or do you have the cops here as a witness?
Ma'am, no. I will be 100%.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop you because I'm going to go ahead and stop you.
Okay.
Stop telling me what the cop said. They're not here because I keep tuning it out, but I'm honestly kind of tired of hearing it because I can't consider it. So,
okay. No, I said I was unprepared. I need to get,
all right. Ms. Dixon, do you have any questions for him?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Moore?
No, Your Honor. Like I said, that's what happened.
Go ahead, Ms. Dixon, closing.
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. Based on the evidence presented before this court today, my client, Ms. Moore, will be considered a victim of family violence pursuant to OCGA 1913-1, Your Honor. We're asking that a 12-month protective order be entered pursuant to 1913-4. We are also asking that respondent be ordered to take FVIP and that he turn over the mailbox keys for the marital residence immediately.
Where do you want him to do, Ms. Dixon? Bring it to your office? Where do you want him to get the keys?
He can bring them to my office, yeah.
All right. If you want to put the email, your address in the chat to Mr. Moore, I'm going to put this in place for 12 months. Sir, you got to take the FVIP class and you have to turn over the mailbox key. So Ms. Dixon, if Ms. Free emails you the Word document, are you going to write this up?
Yes.
All right. And you just put in there, unlike on line 27, your address, and he needs to bring it by at a certain time, and you'll need to comply with that order, Mr. Moore. So if everybody on here, Ms. Moore.
submitted the mailbox keys last night to the officer along with my residence keys. I gave them both.
Then you need to take proof of that to Miss Dixon. And Mr. Moore, if you have that gun, if it's still not at her house, you need to surrender that gun to the local police department. And at your compliance hearing, you will bring a evidence sheet showing that you have surrendered that gun. Under this 12-month protective order, you are not allowed to have any weapons. Without
I don't
proof,
have any guns, ma'am.
have you surrendering that? Where's the gun that you brought to her house to
I
shut the house up with?
I sold that gun that year. As soon as that situation happened, I gave the gun to her father. I didn't want anything else to do with the gun, and the gun was ultimately sold that year. I don't own it anymore. I don't own any firearms.
Your Honor, my client actually has a magazine of a gun that was in that home. She has the magazine, so I'm not sure where the actual gun itself is, but there's a gun in that home.
So just have your client ask her father if that's exactly what he did. If not, sir, you need to go to your city of South Fulton, wherever it is, police department you live to, take it unloaded, turn it in, get an evidence form that'll show that you've turned it in there, and then you can get it back at the end of the TPO.